right, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I was having audio problems earlier, but I think we're good to go. So this is the 1 p.m. update for Tropical Storm Beta. And believe it or not, it's not a joke. We're going to be talking about another little area that has a very low chance of development that's moving out of Florida, possibly into the Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center is highlighting it. Doesn't look like much right now, but I'm going to talk a lot more about it here in a couple of minutes after we cover what's going on with Beta and the latest on Beta as it continues to drift towards the west. So you can see there's the latest as of 1 p.m. 60 mile per hour sustained wind. So it really hasn't strengthened much according to the National Hurricane Center. Gusts to 70, and we've got west northwest movement now up to 5 miles per hour. So has sped up just a little bit. And something interesting that's happened with Beta is the center has actually jumped to the west, which is why it's sped up just a tad. And here's why. We take a look. This is out of Houston. This is the Houston radar. And when you look at this radar is shooting about 20,000 feet up into the storm at this point. Clearly, there's your circulation. And what happened was we had this big burst of storms in the mid-level of the atmosphere, and it was north and kind of northwest of the low-level center. And when that happened in Sally, you get a new center of circulation that forms underneath the more intense thunderstorms. So what has happened here is the low-level circulation that was here has jumped closer to the mid-level circulation here, and it is much more impressive looking on radar. So that's what has happened with it right now. This it'll be interesting to see, could lead to allow it to maybe intensify a little bit this afternoon. There's still a lot of dry air and shear that will be working on this, but now that we had this big burst of storms that's a little bit more vertically stacked on each other instead of tilted like this, it's more like this. It might allow it to intensify just a little bit this afternoon, but it certainly warrants watching. I mean, you look at that on radar and you say, oh gosh, there's an eye wall developing. So certainly be watching that. Of course, there's no new track update with the 1 p.m. It's just simply the coordinates updated along with the intensity. You can see the track there takes it to the west and kind of northwest as we go throughout today, getting close to Texas as we go into Monday night into Tuesday, possibly making landfall somewhere in here as a tropical storm. Now, we've been talking about this storm pulsing. So it's pulsing right now. Its intensity is probably going to jump up a little bit. It's possible, it does that up until landfall. And if it does that, if it's on that kind of getting a little stronger as it makes landfall, it could make landfall a little bit stronger than this. It's just one of those things we'll have to watch as it's on its approach. But as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday, it makes the turn. There's a turn to the northeast, moving up over portions kind of right along the coast near Houston as we go into Wednesday. And then as we go into Thursday, continues to weaken as it moves over Louisiana and then up to Mississippi by Friday. So we'll be making that northeast turn. And of course, it is going to be taking its sweet time. So I was talking about that burst of storms, and you can really see it. It started this morning kind of north of it here, and then it swung around on this side, and the center jumped with it. But notice it's still pretty sheer. You've got this kind of dry patch in here, and you've got all these storms on the east side, so it's still got the dry air and wind shear, and that's why it's still not expected to continue to rapidly intensify as it moves towards Texas. So it still looks like the dry air and shear are winning here at this point. Now the hurricane hunters are in there. They were in there. Looks like they're heading back, or they're you can see here they were trying to find the new center. That's why that weird pattern is right there. But they were in there. They found the new center that kind of jumped to the west. It'll just be interesting. We'll have to watch the trends of this thing today. Here's the dry air and shear I'm talking about. You've got all the dry air on the west side, and this is dry air trying to come up into this side, and it's been pretty successful. That's why we'll see storms develop, they'll collapse, and then they'll develop, and it's been doing that in 8-hour increments, 12-hour increments. But you still got all the moisture on the east side. So that's what we're dealing with here in South Louisiana with all of our clouds and rain. Now that moisture is still, or that dry air is still getting pulled up in there, and you can really see it in here as it gets pulled up on the back side of it and kind of gets tucked in here. It's possible, though, that this thing, if it tries to intensify a little this afternoon, what it'll do is it'll create a little pocket of moisture near the center of this thing, and it'll be able to protect itself temporarily. It looks like the shear will be enough and persistent enough up until landfall that it will keep working on it. So it will keep kind of ingesting this dry air. That's the current thinking for most people and the meteorologists at the National Hurricane Center. Now, one thing that does appear pretty likely with this is we'll see kind of high rain totals well to the east of the center, and you can see here this graphic. I think it really does a good job of showing that. Here's the center of the storm, but notice where all the heavy rainfall is through Wednesday and Thursday, possibly in South Louisiana into Southeast Louisiana, with maybe lower totals kind of nestled in between. That would be great, by the way, for Lake Charles as they clean up. This is no guarantee, but these are certainly trends we've seen over the past couple of days with models. So we're going to be watching the flooding threat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even into Thursday, even into South Louisiana as this storm slowly kind of moves through the region. So that's what we'll be watching there. And models are showing that. This is our current model, and notice it does have the showers and storms moving through the area today. Most of it's pretty light, but we could start to see heavier rain maybe tonight and really going into Monday. But what we're going to have to watch is kind of what I call like the fire hose effect. And it's when you get these feeder bands far away from the center, which is here, but you get these bands. Notice they line up north to south, and they're going to be moving north to south. So this is when your flooding threat will be highest in the situation. And if they can sit over the same area, you're going to get, flooding rains from these types of things. And that model shows that potentially happening as we go into Monday, maybe Monday night. Notice it's been pretty constant and consistent with showing heavy rain down here in this area tomorrow. Even going into Tuesday, notice we're still just dealing with that wraparound flow on this thing as it continues to just kind of pull up the moisture into it like this. So that's why we're not out of the woods with this as we go into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And even into Thursday, notice still possibly dealing with some heavy rainfall in this area. So we're just going to have to watch it at this point. So that's what we'll be watching here in Southeast Louisiana. And it does look like main impacts will still be rainfall with this event. Highest totals right there along the coastal areas, possibly towards Houston. And then as we go into Southeast Louisiana, notice coastal areas and down in the bayou parishes, totals could be relatively high, depending on what those bands decide to do. That could sneak up here into the New Orleans metro if one of those bands decides to sit up over town, or in even the North Shore. But notice totals generally lower as you go into parts of South Mississippi. One other thing, it is windy out there, and that's means storm surge has been an issue for places like Shell Beach, Wyclowski, Hopedale, down along Florissant Highway. Been seeing water come up 3 to 4 feet of storm surge with that strong easterly wind we've been having since yesterday. So coastal flood advisories continue for east-facing shorelines, especially on the east bank of places, and even into the lake, seeing quite a bit of water rise. Notice our winds. I mean, look at these winds gusting to 44 in Shell Beach, 47 down there along the mouth of the river, and or 48, 33 in the lake. So it is quite windy. That's going to continue as we go throughout the remainder of today. But you can see there's your showers moving on through. That little batch of rain is heaviest right down near the mouth of the river, much lighter here in the metro. But we'll have to watch and see if any of those heavier downpours want to try to move into the area. And there's a closer look at the high definition radar. All right, let's talk about this other little feature. And I talked about it earlier in our Facebook Live. This low pressure, clear as day, there's your spin. I mean, you can see it right there, northeast of Fort Myers, in between Tampa and Fort Myers. This is heading towards the west, and the National Hurricane Center is giving this a low chance. Notice only a 10% chance of development over the next 5 days. So it's not very likely that it does much, at least organization-wise. Now, it is a well-spinning low pressure. There's just really no storms with it right now. We'll have to watch it, and it's going to come out into the Gulf of Mexico like this. But remember, there's a lot of wind shear that's going to be eventually imparting on this. So you can see the pattern right now. Here is beta. Here's the other low pressure. And, you get two tropical systems in proximity to each other. There's going to be naturally wind shear, which is not a bad thing. It can sometimes, keep them from organizing too much. But here's what we'll be watching with this more than likely, and it's the moisture. Now, what I've got drawn on here are the moisture, obviously, the deep tropical moisture is in the purples and the blues, and then your green's moisture, your brown is the dry air, and those wind barbs you see there, like swinging up like this, these are in the mid levels of the atmosphere. So we're talking wind shear. And as we go into Monday and Tuesday, notice here, you've got, there's beta. Beta's in there, weakening quite a bit. Look at all this wind shear. And then here is our other tropical feature we're watching. It's going to be moving like this. But as we go into Wednesday, we'll still be dealing with moisture from beta. Here's beta. Here's a big old trough that's come down. You see these red barbs? That is a lot of wind shear. So here's our second tropical feature that's going to be moving up towards the Gulf Coast, the moisture with it, but it's going to be running into this big area of wind shear, which should keep it from really organizing to anything. Now, one thing it will likely do is we'll see more moisture coming into the area like this, and that's just only going to add to maybe our rain chances Wednesday and Thursday, which is, of course, we don't need that, but the organization of that doesn't look very likely at the moment with this trough coming down, that wind shear right in there. And we'll just have to watch it, but right now chances are very, very low that it does any more than bringing us some moisture as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. So it's just another thing to watch. I mean, oh my gosh, we've had enough to watch, but that's what we'll be watching with that. Also out in the tropics, Hurricane Teddy is 105 mile per hour. It's kind of holding steady. It's moving towards Bermuda. Could be a Category 2 right on their doorsteps. It will bring them rough seas, of course, winds, but they will probably miss the direct landfall of that, so that's good. Then it heads up towards Canada and then makes its way up towards the northwest or northeast, and it dissipates. Here's what's left of Wilfred. Wilfred is now a tropical depression, and it's really weak. That's all that's left of it right there. It's going to continue to head towards the west, dissipate, and not do much at all. So that's the good news with Wilfred. So continuing to be active. Most eyes are going to be on Beta, that other little tropical thing system. We'll keep an eye on it, but it looks like right now it would likely just bring us some a little bit more moisture by the middle of the work week. So your 7-day forecast, I'll leave you with this. Showers, breezy winds likely today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll have to watch for some flooding potential, mainly Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then by Thursday, things will probably start to wind down, and really Friday and Saturday are looking much better. So that is the latest as of 1 p.m. On the tropics. A lot to watch still. But right now, Beta is looking mainly like a rain event for most. But Texas needs to keep a close eye on it, of course, as it moves in tomorrow night into Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.